and dropped it in a bucket. They pulled out the patient's brain and dropped it in a bucket. They pulled out the patient's brain and dropped it in a bucket, along with nearly 10,000 others, all done in secret without permission, creating the largest brain collection in the world. Decades later, a journalist started asking questions about her aunt. Her files showed almost nothing, just that she was taken at 14 and locked away in a mental institution. The trail went cold until the journalist learned about the hidden brains. Digging deeper, she uncovered a secret file, and under her aunt's name, just one note, 738. When she was finally led into the basement, they pointed to a single bucket, and inside was her aunt's brain. They pulled out the patient's brain, and if you shoot at this glass drop, it's actually strong enough to shatter the bullet. But if you just lightly tap the tail, the whole thing will explode from the inside, sending glass flying everywhere. You see, it's made by dripping molten glass into cold water. This instantly cools the outside into a hard shell, while the inside contracts more slowly, locking a huge amount of stress into the head of the drop. And as soon as the tail snaps, all that stored energy is released at once, causing the whole thing to explode into dust. If you shoot at While in the car, her water broke. You see, a stranger was giving her a ride when she suddenly went into labor. He pulled into the gas station and ran for help while his friend stayed with the woman. When he came back out with a worker, they called 911. Using gloves and napkins from the gas station, they followed instructions on the phone. But when the baby came out, the cord was wrapped around its neck. The worker unwrapped it and the boy survived, thanks to 3 strangers at a gas station. While in the car, her water broke. You see, a stranger was giving her a ride when she suddenly went into labor. He pulled into the gas station and ran for help while his friend stayed with the woman. When he came back out with a worker, they called 911. Using gloves and napkins from the gas station, they followed instructions on the phone. But when the baby came out, the cord was wrapped around its neck. The worker unwrapped it and he held the man with tears in his eyes. The wounds were too bad. He was going to die. He heard a noise. He wasn't alone. Someone was trying to get in. He ran, bursting through the front door and sprinting into the woods. Footsteps pounded behind him. The man was chasing him. He ran harder, seeing a road ahead. A police car rolled by and his heart leapt with relief, until the officer drew his gun. The other man finally emerged. A second cop? Confused, his eyes fell to his wrist, a plastic bracelet that read St. Mary's Psychiatric Hospital. He held the man with tears in his eyes. If your arms turned into wings, could you actually fly? Well, they would need to be at least 20 feet wide to carry you, and you would need chest muscles twice the size of a bodybuilder's just to lift them. To make these muscles more stable, you would need one giant bone in your chest, but you'd be too heavy to lift off by flapping, so instead you would have to jump off a cliff and glide. And since your lungs aren't designed for flight, you would pass out mid-air, meaning you would need an oxygen tank to stay conscious as you flew. If your arms, the branch caught on his ankle monitor, dragging both his legs into the machine. And even though his co-workers were nearby, their ear protection blocked out his screams. He fought for his life until someone finally noticed and pulled him out, but his legs had already been cut off. His co-workers tied ropes around his stumps to stop the bleeding. His heart stopped on the way to the hospital, and he needed 15 pints of blood. But somehow he survived and still lives an active life without his legs. The branch caught on his ankle monitor, dragging both his legs They painted giant eyes on the cow's butt and let it graze in the field. You see, cows are usually attacked by lions, who surprise them to catch them off guard. But the painted eyes make the cow's butt look like a staring face. This tricks the lions into thinking that they're spotted. And when scientists tested this out, all of the painted cows were safe, while the unpainted ones were repeatedly attacked. They painted. He was way too short to join the army, but a tumor was developing in his brain. It triggered his hormones, and suddenly the 4'6" man started to grow. His hands, feet, and tongue expanded, and he grew over 2 feet in just a few years. But as he did, his spine curved. Soon his vision blurred, and eventually he had trouble hearing. Finally, doctors removed the tumor, which slowed his growth, but it didn't stop it completely. By the time he died, he was 7'8", making him the only man to live as both a dwarf and a giant. He was way too short to join. When you shower, warm water loosens strands of your hair from your scalp. These hairs fall and slide into the drain with the water. The strands wrap around parts of the drain and catch more hair as it falls. And over time, this hair builds up, tangling into a thick clump. Now, if you saved every strand from every shower for 13 years, you would have almost 500,000 pieces of hair, which would be just enough to knit a sweater. When you shower, a man rode into town on his donkey, with his son walking next to him. But people scoffed, saying the man was cruel for making the boy walk. So they switched. The boy rode and the man walked. Then others said the boy was disrespectful for making his father walk. So they both decided to ride on the donkey together. Now people said they were hurting the donkey. So they both got off and walked beside it. But even then, people laughed. What good is a donkey if no one's riding it? And that's when they learned, trying to please everyone really just pleases no one. A man rode into They put long metal spikes in the center of the plate before placing hundreds of them on top of the ship. You see, this roof was designed to protect soldiers from boarding enemies, impaling them as they jumped onto the iron spikes. The holes cut into the sides let cannons fire in every direction, helping them attack enemies without getting hit. They also placed a dragon head in the front, which spewed out smoke from a hidden torch to confuse nearby enemies. But the ship cost too much to make, and they also entered a time of peace, meaning they eventually stopped making the turtle ship. They put long metal. She heard music coming from her own teeth, and she thought these songs were secret spy messages. But some of her teeth had been filled in, and fillings in teeth can actually sometimes act like tiny receivers. If conditions are right, radio signals can actually vibrate inside, causing your skull to also vibrate, which creates sound inside your head, meaning she wasn't really hearing spies, just accidental radio broadcasts in her mouth. She heard music coming from her own teeth, and she thought these songs were secret spy messages. But some of her teeth